Welcome to another edition of Anglican Unscripted, the Tuesday edition, the Yes, I Have Gavin to Talk About England edition. I'm Kevin Carlson.
I'm Gavin Ashenden. It's the Tuesday in Easter week, the 18th of April, 2017.
Okay, Anglican Unscripted viewers, happy Easter. You survived Lent. We should have an Anglican Unscripted t-shirt we give away. I survived Lent 2017 or something. A little fundraiser. Oh, as long as we're talking about fundraisers and things to do, while you're watching this video, please like it. Please subscribe to it if you're not subscribed. This is a YouTube video, so at the lower right-hand side it says subscribe to our channel. And most of all, you need to share it. I know we're your little secret, habit. You love to watch us, but other people might too. I know lots of people when I travel around, I watch you all the time, but I don't tell anybody. It's embarrassing. And I get that. I understand. And we're going to talk now about England. Because this morning, I get up about 4:35 a.m. and I check stocks and see what's going on in the world. And lo and behold, the Dow futures are down, the Nasdaq futures are down, and the S&P futures, which I really pay attention to, are down a lot. Oh, what's going on in the world? Trump can't be tweeting yet. And I go and find out that Theresa May, who's the Prime Minister of England, has called for a general election. It's called a snap general election because she wants to put her foot down and finally say, would the Liberals stop doing their version of filibustering and let Brexit happen? Well, that's cool, but boy, you're killing the stock market. So let me take off my concerns about the stock market and talk about the reality in the ground over in England. First, Gavin, happy Easter.
Thank you, Kevin. Happy Easter to you and to all those who share in this broadcast with us.
And what is going on? I've not seen such news since Thatcher and Reagan. What's going on over there?
Well, it's quite exciting. It's our turn to have an election, and a lot hangs on it. As you quite rightly said, we have bought into the American system recently. Our last Prime Minister, David Cameron, tied us into fixed-term elections. And the idea was this would save us from instability and uncertainty, the kind of uncertainty you woke up to this morning that's driven your share prices down. So Theresa May has said she's going to hold a vote in the Commons to take us back to the point where she has the power to call a snap election. She's presuming she can win this vote, and I guess we'll see. Presumably she can. If she does, the point is that the opposition have been promising to conduct a kind of guerrilla warfare through the parliamentary process. And every time she has something to negotiate or comes with part of a deal, they had threatened to slow it down, disrupt it, question it, because the majority was only 7 MPs, 7 votes. So her advisors obviously said to her, look, the opposition is very weak politically at the moment. You really don't want to have this worrying and difficult political process ahead of you. So go to the country and get a mandate for Brexit. Your majority will increase, and you'll then be able to do the business of government clearly and efficiently. The risks are low, the prospects are high, so go for it, and that's what she's done.
Well, the initial call to have a general election, I think she can get that started.
Yes.
And from what I hear, she's not going to have a whole lot of trouble restoring the majority by even more if there's a general election.
Well, the pundits say that she's likely to come back with a really significant majority. I mean, it could even be the biggest majority the Conservatives have ever had, because the Socialists are very weak at the moment, and the other third party, the Liberal Democrats, have almost disappeared and been wiped out. But such is the eccentricity of British politics. They could suddenly come back as the major opposition. You just never really know what's going to happen. But clearly she thinks this is a political risk worth taking, and I expect from her point of view she's right.
Yeah, well, Irvi Christmas, I look forward to the Queen sitting down and giving her Christmas message on video. And clearly, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but she is the most Christian person in all of Europe. You
Yes.
know, yeah. And I hope you had something to do with that as a former chaplain. But her message is clear, concise. She knows what Christmas is about. She knows who Jesus is. She's well versed in all the Gospels, Psalms in her last two messages. And I'm like, how can the Church of England be so screwed up when you have that great message from the Queen? This Easter, I'm watching YouTube videos, and lo and behold, there's Theresa May giving an Easter message. And I didn't look, but is this something we find often from prime ministers in England?
No, this is really new. It's very exciting. The last message, I suppose, that came out of the political establishment that people paid attention to, giving a signal, was Tony Blair's spin doctor saying, we don't do God. Let's keep this completely religious, spiritually free. And people have been repeating that phrase for a long time, thinking that perhaps it's best to keep God right out of politics. The English are on the whole pretty embarrassed about religion anyway, and so that goes with the grain of our culture at the moment. But Theresa May did a 3-minute, it wasn't very long, a 3-minute broadcast. I hope that's your end, not mine.
It is my end. Somebody's backing up. Okay, I think they're done. It's finally spring here, and I have the windows open. Beautiful day, not a moment of noise until we talk about freedom of speech. Oh, come on. How hard is it to back into a space? Give it a second here. Come on. Might be my daughter, because I'm teaching her to drive this one. Okay, here. Okay. So, yes, stay off the roads in the Northeast. But back to Theresa May. In this Easter message, Tony Blair always wanted to talk about, Christianity and Islam. It's all great, but we can't have it in politics.
Yes. So Theresa May. Theresa May has done. Came out with an Easter broadcast. Everyone was very surprised. It's on YouTube. Mm-hmm. It's 3 minutes long. It doesn't say very much, but what it says is really quite good. She talks about shared ambitions bringing us together, whatever they are. But then she says that she wants people to be confident about the role Christianity can play in the lives of the people in this country. Well, that's really unusual. She says we treasure religious tolerance and free speech. And that begins to be quite exciting, because in December there was a debate in Parliament where she said we must continue to ensure that people feel able to speak about their faith, and that absolutely includes their faith in Christ. Well, that's very exciting. I don't remember the last time somebody went against this constant anti-Christian flow in government and said something quite as Christian and as brave and as hopeful. So on the plus side, that's a great signal. On the minus side, can the Prime Minister, who has very limited powers in this country, persuade the whole of her party, the whole of Parliament, the whole of the legislature, the culture of the police and teachers? Can she stop this enormous bandwagon of anti-Christian secularization just by standing up and saying she wants Christianity to play a greater role in the country? If you're an optimist, you'll say, well, with the help of God, she can. If you're a pessimist or a realist, you might say, well, the danger is this is part of her pre-election gambit to bring people on. And it's just part of the things that politicians say when they're hoping you'll elect them. I guess we have to wait and see.
Well, my question is, and this is Anglican Unscripted, we have to once in a while talk about the Church of England. When she talks about an Easter message and talks about the justice involved with Christianity in politics, freedom of speech and stuff like that, can we expect Justin Welby and the Church of England to offer verbal support for this? Because I just remember some evangelists being arrested on the street, thrown in jail for 24 hours, because they had harassed and offended somebody by reading from the Bible. I don't want to say that too loud, but from the Bible. And will the Church of England support her?
Well, I think it's important that we don't damn people before they've had an opportunity to speak for themselves. So the difficulty is that the leadership of the Church of England is by and large universally socialist. Already the tweets have been coming through the morning of a left-leaning kind. It's certainly true that the kind of spirituality of the Church of England is one which has sympathy with socialist politics and much less comfort with anything that's right of centre. So we'll have to wait and see. It would be very exciting if the leadership of the Church of England, for example, were brave enough to put their weight behind a political movement that said freedom of speech to spread the gospel and to re-Christianize this country is at the top of what we want as a church. I don't think you'll hear that, but there we are. There's a challenge. Let's see if we hear it.
Any sentence will start with, "We apologize for the 2,000 years of homophobia, anti-Islamophobia, and all the phobias that Christianity and Jesus himself started. However, we do support freedom of speech." That's how it's going to start, whatever comes to the Church of England, based on recent history.
It's certainly true that recent history has brought into that kind of culture. It would be very exciting if the Church of England apologized for not evangelizing enthusiastically enough. I remember when I was converted in 1975 at a mission in an Anglican cathedral. And I'd been a choir boy since the age of 6. I was confirmed in Canterbury Cathedral. I remember as the gospel struck me for the first time as a law student saying, well, Lord, where do you want me to be a Christian? Surely not the Church of England. They've had me since I was 6, and they've managed to hide Jesus from me all that time. Now, that was a bit naive and a bit judgmental, but just at the back of my mind, there's always been this sense that if the Church of England has anything to apologize for, perhaps it ought to start with not having put enough energy into evangelism and actually telling people who Jesus is, to at least give them the choice. It's been much more comfortable in the field of politics, and particularly left-wing politics. It'd be nice if they apologized for that.
Okay, we got politics off our mind, and we got a couple moments extra. So I'm gonna surprise this on you. Where were you when you learned about Princess Diana's death?
Oh, I was in my vicarage in South. I was driving up towards my vicarage after a few days holiday, and I heard it on the radio, and I remember just being absolutely astonished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was about to turn the TV off here on the East Coast of America, and they don't have anchors or anybody at 11:30 at night. So some guy who just threw his sports jacket on, the tie's way off, sits down and says, "Breaking news, breaking." Didn't have his hair combed or anything, and does the breaking news story, which we were glued to for the whole next day as we're watching this. And Princess Di dies in a car accident in France, and my wife and I are talking about the kids. First they went through the tragedy of the divorce, the most public divorce in history, the angst with the Queen and royalty, and can she be maintaining
Her Royal Highness,
her Royal Highness, and all, yeah. And so we're just sitting here. Well, what about the kids? What about William? And what about Harry? And now we have an interview with Harry where he talks about what he went through and the struggles with mental illness. That's pretty surprising to hear from royalty.
I think it's a really wonderful thing. I was asked to do a radio interview about dropping Easter from a campaign for chocolate eggs. And then they phoned up at the time it was due to be broadcast and said we're going to cancel it because we've been talking about teenage mental health, and there are people crying down the phone. It's become very emotional. And I said, yes, stick with teenage mental health.
Yes,
it's
please.
terribly important. We can argue about the Easter Bunny some other time and chocolate Easter eggs. And because I spent 25 years as a university chaplain, I feel very sensitive about the prospect of mental health for our young people. To put it simplistically, I feel very strongly that the way in which secular culture has developed means that our young people are less and less protected from things that will cause mental stress. So I think it's really immensely brave of Prince Harry, and he's done it in a very dignified way, to tell people about the trouble he's had following his mother's death, and the difficulties with anger and anger management. I hope that will. I hope it will give people a sense of how fragile, actually, we all are.
Hmm.
We're all a bit fragile. None of us can claim to be mentally fantastically well, but I hope that will. I hope it'll put into the public domain the fact that as human beings we need to treat each other with a good deal more care than we usually do.
Oh, absolutely. I want to thank you again for your time. We're at we got 48 more days of Easter to go, and I can't wait. It's a good time. Thank you, Gavin, again.
Happy Easter, Kevin. God bless.
God bless.